Shin Megami Tensei. I am a late bloomer when it comes to this franchise because many of you already know I'm a die-hard Persona fan, but Persona was spun off of SMT. And my first SMT game was SMT4 Apocalypse. Yes, I thought this was the definitive version of SMT4. No, I didn't know it was a sequel. I still loved it though, it was great. However, what really grew my intrigue with the series was the announcement of SMT5, which was revealed alongside the Nintendo Switch when it was first announced. It took a while to get there, but when it finally did, it was worth the wait because it absolutely delivered. How much did it deliver? Oh, what do you see in this thumbnail here? Maddie's top games of 2021? What's that in the middle there? Is that SMT5? Indeed, SMT5 was my number 2 for top 10 games of 2021. I absolutely adored my time with this game. It was a perfect melding of JRPG goodness that I love, a great challenge, as well as a post-apocalyptic world, which naturally is a big appeal for me. So when Sega reached out and said, hey, do you want to check out SMT5 Vengeance? It was already on the list because I love anything that comes out of Atlus, and naturally I wanted to see this new definitive version of SMT5, especially because it's not just going to be on Switch this time, but on Xbox, on PlayStation, and on PC. Now, they provided a copy for me on Nintendo Switch, but we were already taken care of here because look, ladies and gentlemen, I loved SMT5 so much. We got the beautiful steelbook right here. Look at that. Now, what is also beautiful, but my dog got to, is this premium edition for the original launch of the game. Look at that. Does that not hurt your soul to look at? Oh, why? Why did Revan do this to this thing? Like, he targeted so many of my collectibles. He got the Persona 5 Royal and SMT5. It hurts my soul. So what I'm trying to say is I already loved SMT5. More of that is right up my alley. And when Sega approached me, this was like a no-brainer. So I hope you enjoy being educated on why SMT5 is worth your time and why, as someone who's played a decent amount of Vengeance, you should be checking this one out too. A reminder, it's available now on Xbox, PS5, Switch, and PC. So if you like what you see, it's available at this moment. So the big selling point, the big deal with SMT5 Vengeance is the canon of Vengeance. At the very start of the game, you're going to make a choice and you can go one of two ways. There's the canon of creation, which is the original game story. So if you haven't played the base game of SMT5, don't worry, Vengeance still includes that. And what's worth pointing out here is that these two stories are pretty different from one another, especially in the later parts of the games. And why that's crazy is because now you have two full JRPG stories here, which is nuts to think about because you combine them. And we're looking at maybe 180, 170 hours of content. There's a lot here, like serious bang for your buck, which is what I've always loved with games from Atlus. That's why I've always been drawn to them. Like, I think of Persona 5 Royal and how 135 hours for one playthrough. And some people go, oh my God, that's so long. But for me, I'm like, music to my ears. You spend so much money on these games, you may as well get your time's worth, right? Now, I've already talked about how much I adored SMT5 in its vanilla state. You can see that in my Game of the Year video. I'm gonna really focus on the new content here that you can find in both these storylines, but really with Canon of Vengeance. Now, when you make this selection, at first I was a little worried. I'm like, which path am I selecting? The game will communicate to you which path you're about to go on. So don't worry, you can make a selection. They'll tell you you're about to go on Canon Creation. Do you want to do that? Or Canon of Vengeance? If you're looking for the new content, go Canon of Vengeance. Separately, the reason I wanted the game on Switch is because if you already have a save file there, you get a ton of bonus items. And if you don't know this about SMT, these games are tough as nails. So those bonus items are much appreciated. So keep that in mind. If you've already played the game, you may want to double dip on the same system, in my opinion at least. Now, firing things up, there are a lot of quality of life improvements in the gameplay that you'll see immediately, but when it comes to the story and the locales, it's going to be familiar at first. I don't find that to be a bad thing. It's been 3 years since I played SMT5, so I'm cool with a little familiarity here, but you will notice like the openings feel a little bit the same. Over time, you're going to start to see more and more changes. For example, before the launch, we heard about this brand new character, Yoko Hiromine. She's kind of this new main star of the story. She is from St. Marina's Academy. She's a student there, and she has some magical abilities that she refers to as a special talent of hers that she refined at said academy. So she's obviously at the heart of this very story. Right away, when you make your choice, she's right there. So you know this girl is not what she's really letting on. And so there's a lot of intrigue surrounding her. Now, what we already also saw in the pre-launch coverage for SMT5 Vengeance was that Yoko would be in your party at times, which if you haven't played SMT before, think of it like a monster catching game where you're gonna run around, fight demons, and you can actually talk to them and then recruit them into your party and build out your own party of different demons. And I will say the system in which you engage with these demons is very thought-provoking, in that you have to really get into the psyche of each demon and how they behave and kind of play to what they want to hear, because they're all twisted and messed up, so you have to sometimes say some messed up things to recruit them onto your party. Sometimes they want to be abused. Sometimes they want you to walk away from them so that they want to be needed, and so they come to you. Like, there's ways you can manipulate them to join you, and I've always loved the thought process behind that, because it's unpredictable, and that's what it's supposed to be, because these are demons, right? So you already have those demons there. You can still bring them into your party, but surprisingly, you can have humans in your party. So in one of the first battles in the game, you're actually going to have your classmates join you in this fight, and they control like the demons would, where you go to a skill menu, but they'll summon their own demons in battle based on the skills you select. Now, I thought this would be kind of a one-off thing, like, oh, Yoko's in your party for a fight, and it's like a special event kind of scenario fight, and that's it. But no, like, this whole beginning stretch of the scenario, Yoko is there with you. And I love that, because one of the strongest components of SMT5, to me at least, when I played the base game, and it's still prevalent here in Vengeance, is the atmosphere and the tone. You're running around a post-apocalyptic Tokyo, and a lot of the mystery and intrigue around the story is like, what happened between the angels and the demon? What war caused all of this? Is this a sign of what's to come down the line? What's going on here? How did I even end up here? There's a lot of question marks surrounding this world, and I found that mixed with the atmosphere is really strong, and for that it can be a lonely experience. You're just this one individual running around in a plane of demons, and so to have another human companion that you're hearing from time to time is really good. If there was sort of a star of the show, to me at least, with SMT5 Vengeance, it's the increase in interaction. Not just in those areas where having human party members is really cool, but also places like the Demon Haunt. This is a place you can go when you want to spend time with the demons in your party. And sometimes they'll give you items, sometimes they'll share their thoughts with you, but the best part is when you sit down with Aogami and kind of talk to him about where you're at in the story thus far, and kind of go over things up until this point. And so there's a little more connection and reflection there, and gradual relationship building that was missing from the original game, and so there's more of an emotional connection to the characters and the party that you have. I'll admit it's like a little weird at times when you just sit down on the bench like 3 times in a row to speak to Aogami, but sometimes those scenarios are going to stack up, and so you're going to go ahead and do that, and it's worthwhile, not just for the dialogue and the story building there, but also because you're going to level up. Like, the game scales a lot better now, but it's still really hard. Again, for those who haven't played SMT, this series is going to hit you like a freight train without a problem. You'll have these moments in boss fights. Like, I had this one in the mid part of the first act of the game where I was cool in it. I was rinsing this boss, no problem. And all of a sudden, he hits all of my party members with an attack. He gets a crit off, so he gets a bonus attack, hits us again, then another crit, gets a 4th attack, and all of a sudden, everyone is almost dead, and I'm like on my heels now. Battles in this game can just flip on their head. All they need on the enemy side is one good turn, and you go from comfortable to uncomfortable, and that's even on like easier difficulties. I've never been afraid to admit I played SMT5 on the casual difficulty, as they call it, because I still think casual is pretty tough, but it's always been fair. It's just sometimes been those moments where I'm almost done with a boss I've been working on for like 30-40 minutes, and then he has one of those turns and everyone dies, and I get really upset. So yeah, despite these changes, the game is still very difficult. You can level up and grind and all that stuff, but you're still going to have a tough time with these enemies because they do hit very hard. They do target your weaknesses. They do have the same rule set as you. So if you attack an enemy weakness, you get a bonus attack. But if they do the same to you, so do they. And so it makes it fair. Now, the game is also loaded with quality of life enhancements. My favorite, personally, is one that I don't really see anyone talking about, which is the Magatsui rails. So when you're running around the big open worlds of SMT5, there are going to be points where you want to return to certain areas or get to certain quests quicker, and originally you would have to run around and fast travel around. And I'm going to be honest, like, sometimes that was a little annoying. I didn't really detract from my experience, but they've made it so much more convenient. I wondered how I put up with it in the past. So the Magatsui rails are what you're going to get on, and they're going to ride you to certain places throughout the map. Sometimes you're going to reach brand new side quests, brand new places with loot in them. Other times you're going to be able to return back to a save point. And speaking of which, you can save anywhere now, which I think is a really good feature, because you'll have those moments where you barely escape a fight, and you might want to just hard save your game, make sure you don't lose any progress or anything like that, and continue forward with some renewed confidence. It's these quality of life enhancements that I think most define for the new player coming in what SMT5 can be to them, because it is, I would say, a steep learning curve, but that's always what the series has been about. And this sort of levels the playing field a little bit more, where I think it's still genuinely challenging while leveling you up in a way that I think doesn't put you in a hole where sometimes the game is difficult for the sake of being difficult. Not really here. They give you enough tools to always be fighting back, sometimes to be over leveled, and still the enemy will hit you pretty hard. In this overworld, you're going to find brand new side quests. As you'd expect in some Atlas JRPG goodness, there's some absolute bops, some cozy tracks. Like, there's just some really good stuff throughout this entire game that I don't want to ruin for you. I appreciate the new side quests, again, because now what you have here is the ability to level up more, get more experience, get more items, get more essence, things that allow you to become stronger in the game and take on those challenges a little bit easier. What you'll also have here is demon fusing, which you already had in SMT5, but if you're unfamiliar with this, this is one of my favorite parts of the game. So let's say you get a bunch of these various demons out in the overworld, and you're like, you know what, you're starting to run out of space, and it's time to get rid of some of these bad boys. You can actually fuse them together to make a whole brand new one. And let's say maybe you don't make wise use of one and you need one later. They're already submitted to your compendium, so you can buy them, summon them into your squad, and then fuse together new ones to make brand new creations. It's just my favorite part of the game. You'll spend so long in these menus putting together tons of demons, and when you walk out of there with a really stacked squad, the skills are looking good, it's phenomenal. You'll get essence from these demons, and that basically holds their skills, and so you can imprint really good skills onto other demons that kind of power level them in unique ways, where you'll have access to maybe skills that hit multiple enemies and they also hit way harder, like it's a +3. So there's options there on how you can build out your squad, and also your character as you pick attributes, as you pick skills and affinities that you're good with. You'll collect glory around the map by finding these various little demons littered about, and when you spend that glory, you'll be able to get little passive bonuses, whether it be finding something on the map or being able to have an affinity for a particular elemental damage type. So there's a lot of ways to build out your character. It's truly a hardcore RPG through and through. Furthermore, you're also going to find new demons. The level cap has been increased to 160. It is just a meaty, chunky game. There's a lot here. But I think for those of you who are like me and returning, what I would say is that you're going to find a lot of intrigue in this new story. And it's a full story there. What I will just give you the heads up on is you're going to see a lot of familiar locales, but there's a lot of new cutscenes within them, a lot of new interactions within them, and it does eventually diverge and make a hard break. It does take some time to get there, though. So if you still have SMT5 fresh in the brain, just keep that in mind as you're going into maybe picking up Vengeance, that you're going to see some familiar locales, some familiar characters. It is building off of the framework, if you will, that the canon of creation was, and so you're going to see some scenes replace, that sort of thing. But when it diverges and it breaks hard, and I think it's wonderful. And so I'm fully in now on this SMT5 Vengeance playthrough. It's been an absolute blast. And let me know if you're thinking about picking it up. There will be a link in the description down below if you want to check it out. Again, thank you to Sega for sponsoring today's video. I really appreciate when they give me these really fun, easy sponsored ideas, because like we did Persona 3 Reload earlier this year, which is like another favorite of mine. Then we do another Game of the Year of mine. I'm like, this is awesome. So thank you to everyone who watches the videos, makes these things possible. Thank you again to Sega. And with that, let me know your thoughts on SMT5 Vengeance down below if you're going to be picking it up. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.